It's a question that stirs deep emotions. Why doesn't he reach out when you know there's something special between you? The answer, as surprising as it may seem, often has less to do with you and more to do with him. And yet, in situations like this, the most profound healing comes not from understanding him, but from understanding yourself. Everyone's journey through life is unique. While it may seem like there's a formula for success in relationships, love, or happiness, the reality is that each person's path is shaped by their own experiences, struggles, and lessons. When we look at someone else's actions, like why they might not be reaching out, even though we feel there's something special between us, it's easy to assume that their behavior is a reflection of our worth or the way they feel about us. But the truth is, their silence or distance is often not a reflection of you at all. Instead, it's a reflection of their own inner world, a place that might be filled with insecurities, fears, and uncertainties that are invisible to us. This is why understanding that everyone's journey is different is so important. We all have our own emotional landscapes shaped by childhood experiences, past relationships, traumas, and dreams. What someone else might view as a small challenge, sending a text, making a phone call, being vulnerable, could be an enormous hurdle for someone else. They may be struggling with feelings of inadequacy, fear of rejection, or the weight of unresolved emotional baggage. When someone is unable to express themselves the way you might hope, it can feel deeply personal. But it's crucial to remember that their inability to act doesn't diminish your value or the connection you share. It simply speaks to where they are on their journey and the hurdles they must overcome. Sometimes we want others to follow a script, one that aligns with our needs, expectations, or desires. We want them to express affection in ways that feel familiar to us, whether it's through words, actions, or time spent together. But what we forget is that each person expresses their emotions and affection in their own unique way, and they may not have the tools or self-awareness to recognize the ways in which they might be unintentionally pushing us away. In some cases, they might even be unaware of the impact their actions or lack thereof have on us. And it's important to recognize that these dynamics are part of their journey, not a reflection of who we are or how we deserve to be treated. We often spend time questioning why someone doesn't show up in the ways we hope, wondering what we did wrong or why we aren't enough. This kind of thinking can lead to self-doubt, feelings of rejection, and emotional turmoil. However, when we look at their behavior through the lens of their personal journey, it helps shift our perspective. We begin to understand that their actions are more about where they are emotionally than about us at all. When we can accept that someone's actions are tied to their personal struggles, we can release the need for answers or closure that may never come. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating. It allows us to stop measuring our self-worth against the actions of others and to start looking inward for validation, self-love, and healing. We can begin to separate ourselves from the need for external validation and focus on our own growth and well-being. By recognizing that everyone is on their own path, we can stop holding ourselves to impossible standards based on someone else's behavior. We can stop internalizing their actions as a reflection of who we are, and instead understand that their journey is unfolding just as ours is. They too are learning, growing, and evolving at their own pace, in their own time. This doesn't mean we should tolerate mistreatment or neglect. It simply means we can approach their behavior with compassion and understanding instead of judgment or resentment. It helps us to recognize that we are not the center of their universe, and neither are they the center of ours. Their actions are shaped by their own experiences and challenges, just as our actions are shaped by our own. This mutual understanding creates a space where we can release the need for control and allow both parties to navigate their journey in a way that serves their individual growth. When we accept that everyone's journey is different, We also give ourselves the freedom to embrace our own path without comparing it to others. We start to recognize that our worth is not tied to someone else's actions or how they choose to interact with us. Our value comes from within. And just as we can't force someone to reach out or behave in a way we want, we also can't force ourselves into someone else's path. What we can do, however, is honor our own journey, cultivate self-love, and keep moving forward in a way that aligns with who we are becoming. In the end, relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, are not about fulfilling a set of expectations, but about honoring and respecting each person's unique journey. We can't rush someone else's growth or force them to be ready for the connection we want. But we can choose to honor our own journey, keep healing ourselves, and trust that the right people will meet us where we are when the time is right. And if they don't, it simply means their path is leading them somewhere else, and we must continue to honor and love ourselves enough to move forward as well. Understanding that everyone's journey is different brings us peace, acceptance, and the ability to love ourselves regardless of what others choose to do. It helps us see relationships not as a source of validation, but as a beautiful expression of mutual growth, love, and respect. When faced with challenging situations, especially in relationships or emotional circumstances, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting rather than reflecting. Our natural instincts often push us toward immediate responses, quick decisions, defensive words, or knee-jerk actions. However, these reactions can sometimes be driven by fear, insecurity, or past experiences rather than thoughtful, conscious choices. This is why reflecting, instead of reacting, is an essential practice for maintaining emotional balance, fostering healthy relationships, and truly understanding ourselves. To react is to respond from a place of unconscious habit, where our feelings and emotions take the lead without being filtered through our higher thinking. It's a response that comes from our automatic conditioning, the reflexive reactions we have developed over time, usually influenced by past experiences, fears, or even societal norms. While these reactions may feel immediate and justified, they often don't serve us in the long run. When we react impulsively, we're less likely to make decisions that align with our true desires, values, or intentions. Our words may sting, our actions may alienate, and our choices might later be regretted. On the other hand, reflection invites us to pause, to take a moment before responding. It allows us to step back from the heat of the moment and create space between stimulus and response. Reflection is about becoming aware of our emotions, identifying the triggers that cause them, and choosing a response that is intentional and thoughtful rather than impulsive. This doesn't mean we should suppress our feelings or ignore our emotional responses. It simply means we take the time to understand them before acting on them. In moments when we feel hurt, frustrated, or misunderstood, reflecting rather than reacting can be transformative. Instead of immediately lashing out or withdrawing in anger, we can ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? What triggered this response? Is it really about what just happened, or is there something deeper within me that needs attention? These questions help us move away from defensiveness and toward insight. By taking a step back, we allow ourselves to gain clarity, and in doing so, we avoid making decisions we may regret or acting in ways that harm our relationships. Reflection also involves recognizing that our feelings and emotions, while valid, are not always objective truths. Our emotional state may cloud our perception of the situation, making it difficult to see things clearly. When we react without reflection, we're often reacting to the story we've created in our minds about the situation, not the reality of the situation itself. In other words, our interpretation of events can be influenced by our past wounds, insecurities, or even unconscious biases. Reflection, on the other hand, helps us to separate our emotional response from the actual events, allowing us to see things with a clearer perspective. Furthermore, when we practice reflection, we empower ourselves to choose how we want to show up in the world. Instead of reacting to external circumstances, we become the architects of our own responses. We don't let other people's actions dictate our emotional state or sense of well-being. By reflecting, we regain control over our reactions and create space for ourselves to respond in ways that are aligned with our highest values. This gives us the ability to approach life's challenges with calm and clarity, even in the face of adversity. Reflection also deepens our understanding of ourselves. Every emotional trigger is an opportunity to learn more about our inner world. Why do certain things bother us so deeply? Why do we feel defensive or fearful? What are we really afraid of? These are the kinds of questions that reflection invites us to explore. By doing so, we begin to unravel the layers of conditioning, past experiences, and unconscious beliefs that shape our emotional responses. This self-awareness is the first step toward healing and growth. Moreover, reflecting rather than reacting allows us to cultivate more meaningful, compassionate relationships. When we react impulsively, we might hurt the people we care about, or we may create distance between ourselves and others. Reacting can make us appear defensive, closed off, or disconnected. But when we choose to reflect, we show up with empathy, understanding, and a deeper connection to both ourselves and others. This is particularly important in difficult conversations or conflicts where knee-jerk reactions can escalate tensions unnecessarily. By taking a moment to reflect, we can communicate with kindness, patience, and a sense of clarity that fosters better understanding and stronger bonds. Reflection also allows us to make better decisions in our lives. When we take time to reflect on our choices, we are better able to evaluate the long-term consequences of our actions. Impulsive decisions driven by emotion can often lead to outcomes we don't desire. By reflecting, we create the space to make decisions that align with our goals and values rather than those driven by momentary impulses. It's important to remember that reflection is a skill that takes practice. It's easy to fall into the habit of reacting, especially when emotions are running high. But the more we commit to the practice of reflection, the more it becomes second nature. Over time, we learn to recognize our triggers, observe our emotions without judgment, and choose responses that are aligned with our authentic selves. This shift can transform not only the way we navigate challenges, but also the way we experience life in general. In conclusion, reflecting instead of reacting allows us to take control of our emotional responses and make choices that are aligned with our highest good. It empowers us to step back from situations, gain clarity, and respond in ways that foster growth, healing, and understanding. When we stop reacting impulsively and start reflecting mindfully, we open the door to deeper self-awareness, better relationships, and a life that is truly in alignment with who we are becoming. Affirming your value is one of the most important practices you can adopt for cultivating a healthy, empowered mindset. In a world where external validation is often sought after and comparisons are made on a daily basis, it's easy to forget that true worth comes from within. Yet, recognizing and affirming your inherent value is not only a powerful act of self-love, but it is also a vital key to living a fulfilled and authentic life. It means acknowledging that you are enough as you are without needing to conform to anyone's expectations or standards. But too often we tie our worth to things outside of ourselves, our accomplishments, appearances, relationships, or the approval of others. While these external factors can offer temporary satisfaction or affirmation, they can never define your true value. When you base your worth on external conditions, you open yourself up to the fluctuating tides of other people's opinions or the changing circumstances of life. If things are going well, you might feel great about yourself, but when challenges arise, you may start to question your worth. true value, however, doesn't waver with the ups and downs of life. It is constant and unchanging, always present within you. The first step to affirming your value is to realize that you are worthy simply because you exist. There is no need to prove yourself to anyone, nor do you need to achieve perfection to be loved, respected, or valued. Your worth is not contingent on anything you do or don't do. It is intrinsic. You were born worthy with a unique set of gifts, strengths, and qualities that are yours to cherish and develop. It's important to remember that being human with all of your imperfections and mistakes is what makes you uniquely valuable. No one else has your exact combination of talents, experiences, and perspective to offer the world. To affirm your value, you must begin by recognizing and appreciating your worth from within. Start by practicing self-love and kindness in your thoughts, words, and actions. Whenever you notice negative self-talk creeping in, such as criticizing yourself for a mistake or comparing yourself to others, counteract it by speaking to yourself with the same compassion and encouragement you would offer a close friend. Remind yourself that you are deserving of love, respect, and happiness. Your value is not defined by your past mistakes, failures, or perceived shortcomings. It is shaped by your willingness to learn, grow, and continue showing up for yourself. Affirming your value also involves setting boundaries that reflect your worth. When you value yourself, you are less likely to tolerate disrespect, mistreatment, or anything that compromises your well-being. You have the right to say no to things that don't serve you or align with your values, even if it feels uncomfortable or difficult. Boundaries are a form of self-respect and an important way to protect your emotional, mental, and physical health. By setting boundaries, you affirm that your needs, desires, and feelings matter, and that you are worthy of honoring those needs. Another key aspect of affirming your value is practicing gratitude for who you are and what you've achieved so far. Often we get caught up in the pursuit of more success, more approval, more validation, without ever taking the time to appreciate how far we've come. Reflecting on your accomplishments, no matter how big or small, reminds you of your capability and resilience. Celebrate your achievements, acknowledge your growth, and give yourself credit for the efforts you've made, whether they led to a specific outcome or not. Even when you don't achieve the results you hoped for, you are still valuable because of the effort, learning, and growth you put into the process. In addition to self-love and boundary setting, surrounding yourself with positive influences plays a crucial role in affirming your value. The people you spend time with can greatly impact how you perceive yourself. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity, criticism, or people who don't value or appreciate you, it can be difficult to affirm your worth. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift you, encourage your growth, and remind you of your strengths. Healthy, supportive relationships help reinforce your sense of value, and they create an environment where you can thrive. Affirming your value also means being intentional about the narrative you tell yourself. The stories you believe about yourself shape your reality. If you constantly tell yourself that you aren't good enough, that you don't deserve success, or that you'll never measure up, those beliefs will shape your actions and outcomes. However, if you shift your narrative to one that reflects your worth and potential, one that acknowledges your strengths, growth, and ability to overcome challenges, you will begin to see yourself in a new light. Your internal dialogue is a powerful tool, and by shifting your thoughts to ones that affirm your value, you align yourself with the abundance and success that you deserve. Another important practice is to celebrate your uniqueness. Your individuality is a gift, and no one else has the same combination of qualities, perspectives, and talents as you. Comparing yourself to others can diminish your sense of value, as it causes you to focus on what you lack rather than what makes you special. Embrace the things that make you different, your quirks, your creativity, your way of thinking, your style, and know that these are the things that make you valuable. The world needs your unique voice and perspective, and the more you honor your individuality, the more you affirm your inherent worth. Finally, remember that your worth is not contingent on perfection. No one is perfect, and striving for perfection can often lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Embrace the fact that you are a work in progress, always evolving and growing. Mistakes and challenges are part of the journey, and they don't take away from your value. Your ability to learn, adapt, and keep moving forward is what matters most. Affirming your value is a lifelong practice, one that requires patience, self-compassion, and commitment. But by consistently affirming your worth through self-love, healthy boundaries, gratitude, and positive self-talk, you create a strong foundation of inner confidence and self-respect. When you believe in your value, you radiate that confidence outward, attracting the love, respect, and opportunities you deserve. Your value is inherent, unshakable, and always within you, waiting to be fully acknowledged and embraced. Love without fear is a transformative and liberating way to live. It's a deep, unconditional love that is not bound by insecurity, expectations, or past wounds. When we love without fear, we allow ourselves to experience relationships in their purest form, free from the constraints that prevent us from fully connecting with others. It is a love that is rooted in trust, openness, and vulnerability, one that allows us to give and receive freely without worrying about rejection, abandonment, or judgment. This kind of love requires courage to be ourselves, courage to open our hearts fully, and courage to love others just as they are. Fear is often the silent partner in many relationships. It shows up in various forms: the fear of being hurt, the fear of not being enough, the fear of losing someone, or the fear of being vulnerable. These fears can cloud our judgment, distort our perceptions, and keep us from experiencing love in its truest and most beautiful form. When fear governs love, it becomes conditional. We love only as long as the other person meets our needs, behaves in ways that make us feel secure, or stays by our side. We place walls around our hearts to protect ourselves from the pain that might come if we give too much or open ourselves too fully. However, this guarded love can never be fully fulfilling because it is limited, self-protective, and often fearful of its own intensity. To love without fear, we must first be willing to confront the fears that hold us back. We need to recognize that fear is not something to be ignored or avoided, but something to be acknowledged and transformed. Fear often arises from past experiences, perhaps previous relationships where trust was broken, or situations where vulnerability led to pain. These past wounds can make us hesitant to fully invest in future relationships, but it is important to remember that each person and each relationship is unique. The pain of the past does not define the possibilities of the future. One of the most powerful ways to love without fear is to cultivate self-love. When we truly love and accept ourselves, we are no longer dependent on others for validation or reassurance. We learn to trust in our own worth, and we stop seeking external sources of approval. This self-acceptance creates a strong foundation from which we can give love freely without fear of rejection or inadequacy. Loving ourselves means recognizing that we are worthy of love just as we are, without needing to change or prove anything. When we embrace this truth, we open ourselves up to loving others without fear, because we know that our worth is not determined by someone else's opinion or behavior. Another essential aspect of loving without fear is letting go of control. Fear often arises when we try to control the outcome of a relationship or the behavior of others. We want to ensure that things go a certain way, or we fear that the other person may not feel the same way. However, love cannot be controlled or manipulated. It must be given freely. When we let go of the need to control, we release the anxiety and pressure that come with trying to make everything perfect. Instead, we can simply be present, offering love in the moment and trusting that the relationship will evolve as it is meant to. Vulnerability plays a key role in loving without fear. It's easy to love when everything is going well, but true love requires us to be vulnerable, to show our true selves without masks or pretenses. This vulnerability can be scary because it exposes us to the potential of hurt or rejection. But vulnerability is also the key to deep, meaningful connection. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door for others to do the same. We create a space where love can flow freely, where two people can connect without the walls of fear, insecurity, or judgment. By allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, we demonstrate trust in the other person, and we invite them to trust us in return. Loving without fear also involves letting go of expectations. Often we place unrealistic expectations on the people we love, believing that they must act or behave in certain ways to prove their love for us. These expectations can create tension and disappointment when they are not met. But when we love without fear, we release these expectations and simply allow love to be what it is, a natural, free-flowing connection between two people. This doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries or needs, but it does mean that we are not attached to a specific outcome. We trust that love, when it is pure and unconditional, will evolve in its own time and in its own way. Forgiveness is another crucial element of loving without fear. Fear often holds us back from forgiving because we're afraid of being hurt again, or we hold on to past grudges as a way of protecting ourselves. But forgiveness is not about condoning someone's behavior. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of fear and pain. When we forgive, we release the power that past hurts have over us. We no longer allow fear to dictate how we love or whether we love. Forgiveness allows us to move forward, to love with an open heart, and to build relationships that are not held hostage by past mistakes. Finally, to love without fear, we must trust the process of love itself. Love is not always easy or predictable. It can bring both joy and pain, but it is always worth it. Trusting in love means allowing ourselves to experience it fully without constantly looking over our shoulder, afraid of what might happen. It means believing that love has the power to heal, to grow, and to transform. Even when love challenges us or brings up difficult emotions, we trust that it is leading us to deeper understanding and connection. Loving without fear is a practice that takes time and commitment, but it is one of the most freeing and fulfilling ways to live. When we love without fear, we create relationships based on trust, respect, and genuine connection. We open ourselves up to new experiences, knowing that love will guide us through the ups and downs. Most importantly, we free ourselves from the limitations that fear places on our hearts, allowing love to flow freely and abundantly. Letting go of the why is a profound practice that can free us from the mental and emotional struggles that often accompany our quest for answers. When life presents challenges, we frequently find ourselves asking, why did this happen to me, or why is this happening right now? We search for reasons, explanations, or justifications that will make sense of our circumstances. However, this constant need for answers can leave us feeling frustrated, anxious, and even paralyzed. The truth is, there are often no clear answers to the why questions of life. And holding on to them can prevent us from fully embracing the present moment and the lessons that lie within it. Letting go of the why is a way to release the need for control and to surrender to the flow of life. When we hold tightly to the why, we remain stuck in a cycle of questioning and resistance. The why can become a mental trap, a loop of uncertainty that distracts us from what truly matters: our ability to respond to situations with grace, resilience, and wisdom. Constantly asking why can sometimes cause us to dwell on the past, replaying events in our minds over and over, hoping for a different outcome or understanding. We become consumed with the need to make sense of things that may never fully make sense. This cycle not only keeps us from healing, but also keeps us from moving forward. We end up wasting precious energy on things that are beyond our control, rather than using that energy to create a more fulfilling and meaningful present. Letting go of the why involves accepting that some things in life may never be fully understood or explained. Life is often unpredictable, and not every event or experience has a neat, logical explanation. By releasing the need for answers, we can begin to embrace life as it comes, accepting that there will always be elements of mystery and uncertainty. This acceptance doesn't mean that we're passive or resigned to our circumstances. It means that we stop clinging to the past or trying to control the future, and instead we focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude in the present moment. One of the key benefits of letting go of the why is that it frees us from the victim mentality. When we are fixated on the why, it's easy to feel that life is happening to us, that we are powerless in the face of our circumstances. We may start to see ourselves as victims of fate or bad luck. But when we release the why and shift our focus to how we can respond to the situation, we regain our sense of power. We move from a place of helplessness to one of agency, realizing that we have the ability to choose how we respond to life's challenges. Letting go of the why helps us to stop blaming ourselves or others and start taking responsibility for our own emotional well-being and actions. Additionally, letting go of the why helps us to be more present in our lives. When we're consumed with questions about the past or the future, we miss out on the richness of the present moment. The why keeps us looking back or forward, rather than fully experiencing what is happening right now. By letting go of the need to understand everything, we can focus on what's in front of us and appreciate the beauty and lessons of the present. We become more open to receiving the wisdom that is available to us right here and now. Instead of trying to force answers, we allow life to unfold in its own time, trusting that everything will make sense when we need it to. It's also important to recognize that the why can prevent us from embracing change. Change often brings with it uncertainty, and our natural inclination may be to ask, why is this happening? However, this resistance to change can limit our growth and evolution. When we let go of the why, we open ourselves to the possibility that change, even though uncomfortable, is often exactly what we need in order to grow. By surrendering to the flow of life, we allow ourselves to adapt, learn, and transform. We stop resisting what is and begin to accept the lessons that change brings with it. Life is dynamic, and by releasing the need to understand why things are changing, we make room for new opportunities and experiences. Letting go of the why is also an act of self-compassion. It requires us to stop being so hard on ourselves for not having all the answers. In a world that often values certainty and clear-cut solutions, it can be difficult to embrace the unknown. But self-compassion means allowing ourselves to not have all the answers and accepting that it's okay not to understand everything. We don't have to solve every mystery or figure out every puzzle. Sometimes it's enough to trust that life is unfolding as it should, even if we don't have a clear picture of the bigger picture. By letting go of the why, we give ourselves permission to experience life with more openness, curiosity, and ease. Furthermore, letting go of the why encourages us to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment. without judgment or attachment. When we're constantly asking why, we're often not fully present in the experience itself. We're preoccupied with analysis or seeking answers. By letting go of the why, we can more fully engage in the present moment, experiencing life as it is, without the need for explanation. This mindfulness allows us to connect with ourselves and others on a deeper level, cultivating a sense of peace and clarity. Finally, letting go of the why opens the door to trusting in the process of life. While we may not always understand why things happen, we can trust that everything is part of a larger plan. Trusting in the process means believing that life has a way of unfolding in the best possible way, even when it doesn't seem that way at the time. Sometimes the answers come later, and other times we may never get them. But by letting go of the why, we free ourselves from the need to control or understand everything and allow ourselves to be guided by faith and trust. Letting go of the why is not about avoiding questions or refusing to learn from our experiences. It's about recognizing that some answers are beyond our grasp and choosing to live fully in the present, embracing life as it is. By releasing the need for answers, we create space for growth, healing, and transformation. Life may not always make sense, but by letting go of the why, we allow ourselves to flow with it, trusting that everything will unfold in its own perfect time. Focusing on your own joy is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. We often find ourselves caught up in the busyness of life, constantly seeking approval from others, chasing external validation, or putting others' needs before our own. While caring for others and being there for the people we love is important, it's equally crucial to make sure that we prioritize our own happiness and well-being. When we focus on our own joy, we nurture our own hearts and minds, allowing us to show up as our best selves for others and ultimately to live a more fulfilling and balanced life. We live in a world where it's easy to lose sight of what makes us happy. With so many distractions, demands, and expectations placed upon us, it's easy to neglect our own needs and desires. We are constantly told that we must do more, be more, and have more in order to be happy, but this external pursuit often leads us further away from true joy. The key to happiness is not found in external achievements, possessions, or accolades, but in cultivating an internal sense of contentment and joy. This internal joy is not dependent on the people around us, the situation we find ourselves in, or the things we acquire, but on how we choose to focus our attention and energy. Focusing on your own joy starts with being in tune with what brings you happiness. It's about understanding what makes you feel alive, what excites you, and what gives you a sense of peace and fulfillment. For some, joy may be found in spending time with loved ones, while for others it might come from solo activities like reading, painting, or taking long walks in nature. The key is to identify the activities and experiences that make your heart sing and actively make space for them in your life. Too often we feel guilty for prioritizing our own happiness, thinking that we should always be focusing on others or taking care of responsibilities. However, when we neglect our own joy, we risk becoming burnt out, stressed, and disconnected from our true selves. When we focus on our own joy, we give ourselves permission to care for our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Many of us are conditioned to believe that self-care is selfish, but in reality, it is essential. We cannot pour from an empty cup. When we prioritize our own joy, we recharge ourselves so that we have more to give to others. Whether it's setting aside time for a hobby, practicing mindfulness, or simply relaxing, taking care of our own happiness ensures that we are in a better position to care for those around us. Moreover, the more we nurture our own happiness, the more we become a positive influence on others. When we are truly happy, we radiate positivity and inspire others to focus on their joy as well. Focusing on your own joy also involves letting go of external expectations and societal pressure. So much of our happiness is conditioned by what others think we should do, how we should look, or what we should achieve. We often live in fear of judgment, constantly trying to meet others' standards and forgetting to ask ourselves what we truly want. This pressure can lead to feelings of inadequacy, stress, and anxiety. Letting go of these external expectations allows us to stop living for others and start living for ourselves. It's about being authentic and honoring our true desires, even if they don't align with what others might expect or approve of. True joy comes when we stop trying to conform and allow ourselves the freedom to be who we truly are. Another important aspect of focusing on your own joy is learning to embrace the present moment. Often we get so caught up in the past or the future that we forget to fully experience the here and now. We may ruminate over past mistakes, missed opportunities, or unresolved conflicts, or we may anxiously anticipate future challenges, worries, and responsibilities. This focus on what's already happened or what's yet to come robs us of the joy that exists in the present moment. The secret to joy lies in our ability to be fully present, to appreciate the small, beautiful moments in our daily lives. By practicing mindfulness and staying in the moment, we unlock a deep sense of peace and joy that comes from fully experiencing life as it unfolds. Focusing on your own joy also means learning to be kind and compassionate with yourself. Many of us have an inner critic that tells us we're not good enough or that we don't deserve happiness. This negative self-talk can hold us back from experiencing joy and can even contribute to feelings of shame and guilt. Learning to silence this inner critic and replace it with self-compassion is essential for finding happiness. When we are kind to ourselves, we stop judging our every move and start accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. We recognize that we are worthy of love and happiness, regardless of our past mistakes or imperfections. Self-compassion creates a safe space within us where joy can flourish. Another key element of focusing on your own joy is learning to let go of toxic relationships and situations. Sometimes our pursuit of happiness is hindered by people who drain our energy, belittle us, or bring negativity into our lives. While we cannot always avoid difficult people or situations, we do have the power to choose how much we allow them to impact our happiness. Focusing on your own joy involves setting boundaries, learning to say no when necessary, and removing yourself from environments that do not support your well-being. Surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people who encourage and uplift you is vital for nurturing your own happiness. Finally, focusing on your own joy is about cultivating gratitude. When we focus on the things that bring us joy, we are naturally drawn to the positive aspects of our lives. Gratitude helps shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance, allowing us to see the good in every situation, no matter how small. By focusing on what we have rather than what we lack, we create a mindset of joy and contentment that transforms the way we experience life. Gratitude allows us to find joy in the simple pleasures, whether it's a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of nature. Focusing on your own joy is not selfish, it's a necessary and beautiful act of self-care. It allows you to become the best version of yourself, fully engaged with life and able to share that joy with the world. When we prioritize our own happiness, we show up more fully for the people we love and for the experiences that come our way. So take a moment today to reflect on what truly brings you joy and commit to making space for those things in your life. Your joy matters, and when you focus on it, you open the door to a life filled with peace, love, and fulfillment.